welcome to another edition of FanGirl Friday Live. This is Anita Castellar. I am the original OG of FanGirl Consulting and Brand Management, where every week we have a live stream. We hopefully learn a little bit, have some fun, invite some friends, families, and colleagues to join us in, talk about fandom, our own horror stories in fandom, as well as the business behind fandom. So this week, I want to bring in Andrew and Erik from Boss Fight Studio. Yay! Welcome, guys. How are you?
Hello. We're good. Good.
Yeah,
happy to see you guys. Happy to have you here. In all full disclosure, for those folks not knowing our relationship, Boss Fight Studio is actually a client of FanGirl. So number one, thank you for being our client. Number two, thank you for being our friends, which is even more important. And thanks for coming on this week. So we have a lot to talk about. We have some good stuff to talk about. I want to start off, though, by having you guys introduce yourselves. Since Andrew, you're on the top of my screen, I will start with you first. Why don't you tell us about yourself, your fandoms, and kind of how did that inform your journey until today?
Sure. I'm Andrew Franks. I'm a partner and art director here at Boss Fight. Formerly of Hasbro and a lot of brands there. And in terms of fandom, it's almost easier to pick out the things I'm not a fan of. But I've always really, really loved toys, really, really loved comics, animation. That definitely had a big part of what brought me here.
That's perfect. Which one would you prefer, toys or animation or comics?
Oh, they're so intertwined, Anita.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the decisions that Boss Fight has made about what toys we're doing are comics we love.
That's true. Erik, what about you?
Yeah, I'm also a partner and art director here at Boss Fight Studio, former Hasbro designer, and like Andrew, we both have sequential art degrees. We have degrees in Spider-Man, but we ended up in the toy industry instead, and we as far as fandom goes, I started out trying to be a comic book illustrator and inker and writer, and ended up in toy design instead, and I'm happy about it. But yeah, I'm into the science fiction stuff and comic books, toys. I mean, everything from G.I. Joe to
Lucha Libre.
I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm kind of everywhere. So
that's awesome. So for those who are following along and may not know and make the correlation, sequential art is essentially a comic book degree, like how to create them, how to draw them.
Yeah, it's essentially how to tell a story with art, whether it's from the with visuals, whether it's from the art side or the writing side. It all kind of combines together.
So how did you all get together to form Boss Fight?
Well, as Erik alluded to, we've known each other a long time, since college. We're very old now, and so we've maintained a friendship somehow through all of that, and we started working for Hasbro around the same time, and then eventually felt it was time to move on, and do something with a little more creative freedom, that felt more personal, more fulfilling, and that's sort of where Boss Fight came from. We wanted to be able to do something without all of the compromises and all of the stuff that goes along with the big corporate structure.
Yeah, mainstream toy design.
Exactly. If you're making a product for a giant big box retailer, they need a much bigger margin than if you're selling something direct to consumer or to a smaller retailer, which is where most of our business comes from. So
right. How'd you land on the name Boss Fight Studio?
When we first started the company, we had a brainstorm day, and we had probably 50 names up on a board of what we could call the company. And at the end of the day, we were like, okay, everyone go home with this list, think about it, and then we'll create an email chain with we'll all pick our top 5.
Right.
And basically Boss Fight Studio was the one that was on all 5 of our lists. And basically it's allusion to the end of a video game, where you get to the boss fight, and that was just kind of where it came from.
Right. That's kind of neat. I mean, because it's very unique. I mean, there's a couple of things that I've been noticing out there for a trend. It must be something about boss and fighting. I don't know, but I've been noticing a couple of names here and there, especially as I'm like looking up to tag you guys sometimes on LinkedIn or something, your page. And it's like, what are all these names coming up that are, bosses and fights? I don't know. There must be something subconsciously going on in the world. But
we didn't want bosses anymore. That was part of it too. We were over that part.
Yeah, and ironically, we are the bosses, which is terrible.
Yeah, you went from not wanting a boss to being a boss, and now you're like, what did I do to myself? So how did you decide one of the core product lines that you guys design and create, which is really fantastic actually, is the Vitruvian Hacks line, which I see the banners behind you there, Erik. So tell us a little bit about how that came about, the name, what does the Hacks actually stand for, all of it.
Well, we were all toy collectors and toy designers, toy collectors, toy customizers. So we always took apart toys, repainted them, made different toys out of them and stuff. So when we kind of set forward, we wanted to create something that we wanted to bring that type of play for the consumer to it. Because everything we used to break apart and glue back together and paint wasn't made to do that. We wanted to make a product that was made to do that, but also was a very cool product in and of itself. Right. So the initial design of the figure was designed so they could come apart at all these different points. And that kind of led to, we like the idea of using like the word hack as it's kind of used nowadays, where it's like, life hack, type of thing. Vitruvian was just a name that kind of kept coming up, and it was it's based on the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci, which is like the perfect proportion human being and all that stuff. So we kind of like that, like we were bringing a toy to a new like era, a new level, closer to perfection as a product.
Totally describes everybody on this call.
Yes. But then Hacks actually ended up standing for highly articulated character kit system. And that the reason for that is that, because we are collectors, we like really highly articulated toys. And then, the character kit system part of it was that we were making kits. Basically, you could take everything apart, take all their armor off and their helmets off and all this stuff. You could swap parts around. And then you could kind of create your own thing. So we were kind of that garage kit type of mentality. And, that's where Vitruvian Hacks started. And it was, then it kind of slowly, by the time the first figures had come out and stuff, we had this whole crazy time travel story wrapping into it, unfolding through the years. So that's, it was like Vitruvian Hacks was it's a long running line, and it will continue to be a long running line, we hope. Yeah.
I think we have a comment or a question.
Comment and question.
Already active.
So from Tima Olgula, He says he loves the creativity and the complexity of the characters. How difficult was it to find this fan base for Boss Fight?
How difficult was it to find the fan base for Boss Fight because of the level of complexity and detail in the figures?
You know,
thanks, Timo.
Great question. It was definitely something that's grown organically, we sort of started from a base point of some of the brands we worked on in the past, and some of the brands we loved, and that's why we went with this sort of 4-inch scale figure that was highly articulated, and I think sort of building out from whatever reputations we had in relation to those past brands, and sort of said, well, here's the next step in that type of figure, and so that was sort of a key point in how we built the existing consumer base.
I think a lot of people don't understand. You touched on something a little bit interesting there. Is that I don't think a lot of people who are not deep into the collectible portion of fandom know or understand that the toy designers themselves are actually almost as famous as the toys that they design, right? Because, a lot of people, I should say there's a difference between here's the compare and contrast between mainstream toy design and, collectibles and very deep fan base toy design that I see, is that when you're in the mainstream portion of it, the toy is great. It gets out to the market. Everyone enjoys it. That's great. But you don't really get to see the face behind who actually creates it. Now, with something like this, it's or Super Sevens, or even, guys that are in the similar genre, they tell the story behind the figure, right? And that includes the toy designer and the creation of it. And that fan base and that collector base is very interested because they're a little bit more sophisticated as well as like a collector base, right? They want to know exactly what goes into making my product and see the value of the price that they pay. Because there's also a price comparison, right? There's a price difference between what you could get at Walmart versus what you would get at like a Boss Fight Studio shop, right? So there's that whole package of information and quality of design and care and thought that goes into it also is part of the value of the product. And so then there's a price differentiation and all that as well. So all that's a kind of a package, that people pay for in the end, including the toy designer and the product.
Yeah, we're very
I think that was very funny.
we're very open and very approachable. We're in contact with the consumers all the time, constantly. Partners, ourselves, the 4 partners, we manage and monitor the Facebook page and the messages and all that stuff. So we're very involved in all that stuff. We're also very open as a company as to what, when we can be, especially with our own product. When it comes to licensed product, we can't always be quite as open, which is fine. But with our own product, we're very open about what's coming and what's happening, and showing our work and showing Sculpt Stage and showing all that stuff. One of the things we did with our consumer base to find it was we grew it definitely, as Andrew was saying and stuff, organically as we kind of went along. And we still find that there are these like corners of the collector community that still have not heard of us.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
It's always surprising when you realize how big that group of people is that you still haven't reached. But one of the things we did with the hacks line is we had this whole series of blanks and customizer pieces where we basically take all the stuff we already did, and we put it out in all these different, like, just blank solid colors, no deco, and they're for people to buy and mix, match, and paint up. But we kind of took a leap of faith on that customer base was out there because nobody was really doing that.
Right.
Certainly the larger companies weren't doing that, and we were sitting back going, well, maybe there's a reason nobody does this, but we think we are part of these customizing communities, and we kind of took a chance, and we're glad we did, because that stuff sells just as much, if not more, than our main line.
Yep. So it's, for those who don't know, the line is literally a blank slate. It's a female, male body in a range of colors. whether it be a gold or a, skin tone or a white, because I've seen all these figures, of course. And, but then you can figure out how you want to customize and do what you want with it. And you can break it apart, tear it apart, add pieces to it. You guys have kits and such like that. So, but it's interesting though, that the play pattern or the customization pattern though is a technique that is really used though in tabletop gaming. Yeah. So you kind of pulled that out from that, I hate to use the word play pattern because it really insinuates a younger play pattern, like a young person, but it is, and to a certain degree, right? So it's this portion of self-expression. So a lot of people who play tabletop games and have these very in-depth, strategy type games, sometimes they take the figures and they just make them the way they want them to be. And so you just picked up on a consumer insight, that's a fancy term, right? For basically people that want to do things their way. They want to take a character and make it their way. And so you gave them that opportunity by actually giving them a figure line. So I think that's really smart that, and it's done well for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, I think
go ahead, Andrew.
The customizer product is something that helps set us apart from all the other options in the marketplace. And we've definitely seen a really wide range of consumers sort of glom onto that and start adopting it as something that is their own, whether it's about creating a replica of this historical soldier to go in your diorama, or it's about creating your own version of your favorite hero that may exist somewhere else, or if it's, we've heard from people in gaming and they're like, hey, I made my D&D character as an action figure, and
that's pretty cool.
What's better than that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, we all get to do things in toys that we love, right? Or get to touch on our own little, I don't know, things that are close to our heart. And I think I know one brand in particular, which is close to somebody's heart on this call, which is Bucky O'Hare. Mm-hmm. So tell us about how you guys started working on Bucky O'Hare and what's going on with that brand.
Well, Bucky O'Hare was a comic that was created by Larry Hama, who is known largely for his time at Marvel Comics. He is, by and large, the creator of all of the G.I. Joe characters, and as well as Michael Golden, the artist, and Neil Adams, the legendary Neil Adams. And it is a really unique property because from day one, it was created to be a comic and a toy line at the same time. And if you look at the way the comic is drawn, all the characters and the vehicles and everything are drawn as representations of toys. They have peg holes in their feet and screw bosses and all of this other stuff. And it's
so was that their intent when they drew the comic like that? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that was sort of part of the baseline idea, and so it is this great anthropomorphic space animal, fun, colorful property, and I once had a great lengthy dinner with Larry Hama, and really got to sit and hear about his passion for these characters and their potential, and
that's pretty cool.
And how, as great as the cartoon and toy line in the early 90s was, it didn't really fulfill the potential and all the promise of this. So it was something that really stuck in my head. And when it came time to start looking at licenses, Bucky O'Hare was first on our list.
Who did the original toy line?
The original toy line was a Hasbro toy line, but it was very much designed to compete with the popular Playmates Turtles line at the time. And they were taking a lot of design cues from that.
Got it. I think we actually have something to share with some people here. We're going to transition real quick. No? Okay. So but you have a picture behind, or a piece behind you there. I see the packaging, and it's kind of neat.
Yeah, this is our next figure. This is Mii Le Flu. The package is a bit of a mock-up, but the figure is basically a final sample. And this is the first time this character has had a toy. She is a super cool fox, and all of our Bucky O'Hare toys are crazy superposable as much as the designs will allow. All of their weapons operate on a peg system where you can peg them onto their belts, and they've got cool stuff like interchangeable faces with different expressions, different hand positions, and they have really cool bios written by Larry Hama on the back.
That's cool. That's cool. So the little mix-up that I had there was actually for another brand that I thought we were sharing. We thought we were sharing Bucky O'Hare, but we're actually sharing Sam & Max.
Sure.
So tell us about Sam & Max and how that came to be.
Sure. Sam & Max is a comic created by a cartoonist named Steve Purcell. And it sort of started out interestingly as this weird joke between him and his brother, and it was just something that Steve kept up with over the years and kept expanding, and eventually, was publishing this widely, and it is a really unique property because it's very, very silly, and Steve has a unique brand of humor, and it's about a dog, Sam, and a rabbit like.
I love the paper bag puppet.
Yes, and they are the freelance police. It's unclear who they really get their orders from, but they sort of run around making mischief and maybe solving some problems, but more often than not, it's just
causing them.
Yeah.
Let's show something that we have now for Sam & Max. Okay, so we're going to come back to that too, apparently. All right, now we're good. So we've got Sam & Max, and we're going to talk about, what did you share with us today on our board?
Yeah, so this is a board showing our first assortment of Sam & Max product, the deluxe window boxed basic Sam & Max figures in their standard attire, and they come with sort of all of their best accessories and tools of mischief, and this was something that was a long time passion for me to bring to toys. I love the comic so long, and in fact, I started doing concept sketches of toys for this property in college.
Wow.
That's how long I've been thinking about this.
That's a labor of love.
So yeah, it's been very exciting to bring it to life, cool. And to work directly with Steve Purcell, the creator, to make sure that these are, true to his vision and have all of the sort of wackiness embedded in them. And something really cool about the packaging is he's done a ton of new art.
I think if we're not sharing that, let's share the packaging. Okay, so that's really cool. I love that art, actually. So yeah. I like the background too, the ghosted art. Well, I'm calling it ghosted, but I'm sure that's
yeah.
But so that's pretty cool. I like that.
There's a new comic strip on back.
Oh, fun. Oh, you're not going to show that. You got to buy the package in order to get the comic strip. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. So is the comic strip new? Like it's yes. Originally made for the packaging?
Yep. It was something Steve was very kindly willing to do. Steve's day job is he is a high up story guy at Pixar. So he doesn't have a lot of time these days. But he very kindly was willing to do all this.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty, I love that packaging. It's very vibrant. Like you can see it from far away. If it's on a shelf, I mean, but it's really neat. I love that. So let's move along. So that was like one of the first couple of, chronologically speaking, for Boss Fight, right? Like some of those first licenses and such. You move along. We get to start working together. You guys say, "Oh, have this laundry list of licenses that I want to get at." So we did. We worked away at chipping at some of those. But then we get to, let's say, I think it's like summer of last year, right? And we decided to go down the path of wrestling and luchadors. So Erik, do you want to tell us about that? I'm not going to give away the whole thing. You set it up there.
Yeah, the luchador thing was interesting because, Mask Republic's representative kind of came to us and wanted to talk to us at Toy Fair. So we started talking, and it happened very quickly that we all, FanGirl and Boss Fight and Mask Republic and Firefly, we all got on the same page very quickly about the whole thing and started working on it and signed contracts and everything. It was the excitement from all of us on both sides was like electrifying.
It was a happy accident.
Yeah, we were like all into it. We were all excited about it, and then once we realized that we would have access to Pentagon Junior and Ray Phoenix, that was like the cincher. It was like those are the two, arguably the two most famous, currently the two most popular luchadors in the world, and they're amazing, and we were huge fans, so it was a great. That's who we're of course kicking the line off with. But it's interesting because like a lot of our lines we pretty much just do figures for, but lucha we're actually doing a wide range of different product, not just the 6-inch action figures, but we're also doing like mini replica masks and mini like super deformed figures, and we're looking at doing a ring, like it'll be our first kind of playset type of item. And so it's really an expansion for Boss Fight, because we're moving into all these different segments, and the further away we move from the core action figure, the more of a real toy company we kind of become.
Yeah. Oh no, you're getting to be a legit toy company.
Yeah.
You're a real boy, Erik.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the fandom though. Let's talk about Lucha Libre. Let's talk about Mask Republic. I guess I'll do the corporate speak, right? So Mask Republic, from what I understand, you guys can help me, correct me, and I'm sure somebody from that world is watching to correct me. So Mask Republic essentially, is the parent company that owns the brand Legends of Lucha Libre, and also Lucha Expo, Lucha Central, a couple other offshoot brands. But, as it pertains to the figure line, Legends of Lucha Libre is kind of like the way, if you think about the NFL Players Association as being managed here in the US, where they represent and work with the actual talent, the actual luchadors themselves, and broker deals on their behalf. And so that's why we call out the Mask Republic as opposed to calling out the individual luchador, right? So we work with those guys. My job was the intermediary, basically was to help, do the deal speak, do the business speak and such, what makes sense for everyone. Luckily, I know enough about Lucha Libre and wrestling, because I am a fan, to be a little dangerous in that respect and inform a very well-rounded but very solid business deal for you guys. But then your creativity and your own basic fandom is what really is informing the design and how that works together. So tell us about like your own fandom and like Lucha Libre, and then like how does that then inform the design making for the figure line?
Well, how I got introduced to Lucha Libre, like most people in the US did, through WCW in the late 90s, when we had that huge influx of Mexican talent come up. And like Rey Mysterio Jr., Conan, Vampiro, and Psychosis, and all those guys. And I fell in love with it. that became like my jam when it came to wrestling. Like I loved the Lucha Libre. And over the years, my fandom of wrestling has kind of waned in and out, but I always came back to watch like what those guys were doing and everything. And getting back into it, especially as deeply as now I've gotten into it, where like it's been so much fun, and it makes it a little hard to watch a lot of the other wrestling now, because I love watching the pageantry and the masks and the costumes. All of it is so fun and so cool. And for us, meeting with the fans at Expo Lucha last year was like unbelievable. Like they're so supportive, and they were so cool, and they were so excited to see this product that we were planning, and how deep we're digging into it. And it's interesting because we're through Mass Republic, we're not connected to any specific federation, like AAA or CMLL or WWE, all that, etc. Like we're not connected to them, we're connected to the luchadors themselves. So some of these luchadors work at AEW, some of them work at AAA, some of them work at CMLL, some of them are still are doing independent stuff nowadays. So the talent that we're working with are like, they're kind of in all these different little
It's pretty diverse too. And by the way, all the letters that he's rattling off are leagues. These are wrestling leagues.
Yes, yeah.
Some AAA's in Mexico, AEW's in the US, all that. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and the luchadors and luchadoras that have been, that we work not directly with them, but they approve everything we're doing. So they're seeing this illustrations, they have a say in the costumes that we're helping, we're picking, and they have, which is great. Like we want to make the product that best represents them, and is going to make us money, going to make them money, going to make everybody happy, and is going to be something that's really, out there for everybody.
So there's a historical reason though, right? Like why you're being so careful, why we're all being so careful as to how we represent them or how much we consult them. And what I'm alluding to though is that historically there's been kind of this, tendency or practice for a lot of folks to create toys or create product based off of their likeness or their character's likeness. And well, we don't know their own likeness, right? Because they're under the mask. But, essentially their character, right? But yet they've never been compensated or haven't been compensated properly or been recognized properly. So I think that's why it's such a big deal for us and Mass Republic, and we work with those guys to be so conscientious about that, because we know that history. Right.
Yeah. A lot of the, especially the luchadors that were coming into the U.S. from Mexico and stuff, they were taking advantage of their likenesses and they really weren't compensated what they should have been for the product that has come before. And also sometimes they didn't even have a say in the product that had come before. We're finding that out with some of the earlier luchador toys that were made in the US and stuff, that they didn't even know they were coming out, or they never even saw them until they hit the shelf. And it was like, so now them having an actual say and helping us out, like, is been really great. And they've all been really great. Like, how excited they get makes us excited and makes us proud about the product. Or if we need, like, hey, we need some photos of your tattoo that we can't find any good images of, they'll send us cell phone photos around the arm, and they've been really great to work with, and it's been fantastic.
So you mentioned the Lucha Brothers, their figures. Let's take a look at those and talk a little bit more about how they are designed. What's your thought process around those? They've been doing really well, right? Like they did really well in pre-order.
Yeah, our pre-order has been very strong with them, and they have unfortunately been pushed back release time due to COVID delays at the factories. And this is across the board for product for everybody, not just.
Maybe they'll come with little COVID masks.
Yes, they already have a mask, so
they'll get a double mask.
but unfortunately, they have been pushed back. They will hopefully we're aiming at. They are still moving along. I just recently saw some of the early first shots from Hong Kong, and they're looking fantastic. So, but yeah, we when we looked into them, we a couple of us here collect wrestling toys, and one of the things we wanted to do is make sure that we wanted to put out a product that was on level with the best wrestling product that was out there. And
well represented too, because I think we're looking at Lady Maravilla right now, right? I think we're looking at that. Yep. So I'm getting the thumbs up. We're looking at her.
We wanted to come out strong, and we also wanted to, let everyone know right away that we're including the luchadoras in this. We have upcoming. We've got Lady Maravilla. We also have a Taya Valkyrie coming. And we're, our figures, the premium line that Lady Maravilla is part of, as well as Conan and the first Penta and Phoenix, they're our premium line. So they're fully articulated, extra hands, extra heads, accessories, like they are like all blown out completely. But this is the first time we actually have, Boss Fight is doing 2 price points, 2 different price point lines that kind of go together anyway. Right. So we're also going to have the Fanaticos line, which will be the same scale, the same detail, but we're gonna scale back the articulation, because articulation, the more you put in, the higher the cost goes, and it goes up really fast. So
right.
So putting together the Fanaticos line, we then will have a lower cost to the consumer product out there that will still look. You'll still be able to put them on the same shelf and stuff, but you'll be able to consume more of them. Whereas the premium line, there'll be fewer figures a year, and it like I said, it'll just be
It's like, your medium price and your upper price, or your, entry price point and a little bit higher price point. So you can
that's something
get more out there for everybody to have.
Yeah. And we want to include everybody. And that's something that's very common at like the Hasbros and Mattels of the world, to have those different price points within a line. But this is the first time we're doing that as a company, because we're like I was saying earlier, the booth is a little bit more expansive than what we normally do.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that all of us are working on, the ideas of the equal representation, and having the males and the females, and, the females, the luchadoras are not like pushovers at all. So, to have them be like on the background always, it's kind of like, come on, guys.
And in Lucha Libre, there isn't really a split between the genders when they get in the ring. Like, Lady Maravilla will wrestle Pentagon Jr. Like, it's not, that they don't, it's not like women only fight women, men only fight men type of thing.
It's unusual to see it in the US, like in pro wrestling here in the US, it's unusual to see the mixed tag teams and such, whereas it's not as uncommon in Lucha Libre.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. That's fun. So we're looking forward to a lot more from that. So you said there could be even future extra expansions, like the toy ring, like the actual ring for the figures and such.
Yeah, we're working on a prototype right now for that, to see how that goes. But yeah, we're working on a ring, and we want to see where it expands from here too. We're looking at a couple of new items to add, as well as we're also doing the accessories.
Yeah. So I think we're a little frozen, Eric, hopefully, but the accessories also were like the mask, right? So maybe Andrew, if you know enough, you can kind of speak to this a little bit about it, but well, Andrew's a little bit frozen, but we can get so there's a miniature mask, right? A replica of all the luchadors.
My computer died.
Your computer died? Oh no.
So I'll be joining Andrew.
Awesome. Welcome.
Luckily I was just on the hall.
Eric, the mini masks.
Yes.
Talk about those.
Okay, so we're doing the line of mini mascaras, which is a line of 3-inch busts and each bust comes with a soft PVC plastic replica mask of different luchadors and luchadoras. So you can have on your shelf this collection of replica masks that isn't going to cost you $400 a mask.
Although if they want to pay that
of
much,
course, yeah.
they can.
Yeah. I recently got into collecting luchador masks, and they are expensive. So I love doing it, and I will continue to do it, but I can only do it sparingly.
Right.
The actual masks, if you've never seen one close up,
Oh my God.
They're handmade by these artisans.
Yeah,
they're
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and just
so
I've
cool.
never seen anything like it.
And
so that's another consumer insight, right? That you reached into. You started with the blanks. Now you're doing the consumer mask because that's a collectible piece. That's a play. That's not a play pattern per se, but that's a pattern of behavior and purchasing that makes sense for for those who are fans of lucha libre. So now you're going to give them the ability, instead of paying $400 or $500, you can only get one, maybe in your whole lifetime. You can get multiples of all your favorite luchadors.
And those will be blind boxed, so they'll be collectible, like kind of guesswork, which is fun. And there will be chase variant colors and stuff like that mixed in. So it'll be a fun. I think it'll end up being a fun thing for lucha fans to collect.
That's awesome. So not to leave the lucha libre too far behind, but you have so many other interests and so many product lines coming out that you have one more that I want to talk about. And especially because I love anniversaries, right? And I love like toy anniversaries and brand anniversaries and making big noise about anniversaries because you guys know I'm always like, so who's having an anniversary? And let's figure out what we can do with that. But Flash Gordon right now, I mean, we're going to go way on the other side of the galaxy, pun intended. To talk about Flash and the comics behind the Flash, but then also there was a film which is celebrating its 40th anniversary right now, which everyone always remembers because of the Queen soundtrack, right? So if you know nothing else about it, that famous Queen Flash, and it's like the ringtones, and it's made its way on TV commercials, and it's a mind worm because now you can't unhear it now that I said it. So you guys also have the license through King Features, which are very good partners of ours, for Flash Gordon and some other brands as well. So tell us about Flash and what are you doing with that?
Well, Eric, you had started talking quite a while ago about some of those King Features adventure strip heroes, and they've never really had the toy representation they deserve. Yeah. For such iconic characters that some of whom are approaching 90, 100 years. They
predate Superman.
Yeah.
It's
oh no, you just blasphemed.
I know. But Phantom and Flash, they were on our wish list right from the beginning. They were part of our wish list, and it initially started with a big Phantom pitch, but then it kind of we rejiggered the whole pitch to include both Phantom and Flash equally instead.
And
they're great lines.
It's been such working with King on this stuff has been really rewarding.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
There's great people at King Features, and I had never seen the 1980 Flash Gordon movie as a kid. And I know.
I'm shocked. Oh my gosh.
And so I had only seen it as an adult. And I had no idea. I knew people loved this movie.
Yeah.
But I had no idea before I started working on it how deep the love for this movie is.
Yeah.
It's really a cult following.
It really
is bananas. Yeah. And people know every word and every line, and they've seen it hundreds of times. And it's amazing to see the response to that.
So you're doing an anniversary figure.
Yes.
I think we're going to take a look at that and show the fans who are watching right now. Tell us about it. Tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah. So the first item in our Flash Gordon line is Hero Hacks movie Flash Gordon. In his introductory costume is when he crash lands on Mongo and is brought into the throne room. And
I hope there's no spoiler alerts in all of this film, because this movie is like, this 40 years old.
But
spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched it yet.
Yeah, but the idea of the Hero Hacks product line is to take all of that great articulation and detail and customizability of the Vitruvian Hacks line, and merge it with some really great licenses, and sort of create the ultimate 4-inch figure collectible.
Right. So it's your offshoot to your Vitruvian Hacks line, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, it's fully compatible to the and so our t-shirt Flash here, he's got interchangeable heads with different expressions. He's got interchangeable hands with different positions. He's got the improvised football egg,
fabricate egg thing,
whatever that he's conking guys on the noggin with.
Mongo egg, yeah.
And the really cool thing is it comes packaged in something we've been I think pushing really hard, is this idea of packaging two collectibles together. And so this Flash comes in an old school metal lunchbox, like you
those are awesome.
With you when you were a kid.
Thermos not included.
Yeah. No Hostess cupcakes, unfortunately.
That's it. I'm done. I'm hanging up.
But we wanted to make these the ultimate lunchbox collectible to go with the figure, and it has completely wraparound art printed on every side. This thing is.
Where'd the art inspiration come from?
Well, so we for the art. We wanted to have one iconic image to start with. So one of the panels has one of the classic movie posters, and then the sides and the other panel has some really amazing art by superstar comic book artist Erik Henderson, who people know from Squirrel Girl at Marvel and Assassin Nation. She's an amazing talent and a friend of mine, and she is bonkers for this movie. So she really put her all into these illustrations, and she's also going to be doing some of our card art for the carded figures.
Wow.
So yeah, we wanted to make this debut item like super cool and super special. So.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about the carded figures? Because there's more to come for Flash, right?
Absolutely. So our line is going to be a mix of the best. You're going to have your iconic movie 1980 figures, but you're also going to have your very iconic comic strip characters based on the classic Flash Gordon comic strip, and some of the best art and some of the best costumes. Right in the first assortment, we've got this incredible mix of sort of an Al Williamson styled Flash Gordon and an Alex Raymond styled Ming the Merciless. To right up front, you're going to get the key hero and the key villain to fight against.
And he's such a good villain. Like, first of all, he's so fashionable. I mean, like his costumes alone were pretty incredible.
And that first Ming figure, he is two different purples. He's yellow. He's green. It's so flamboyant. It's so fun to be able to work with colors like this.
And that's amazing.
And then you're going to go right into another movie assortment with the second assortment, where we've got a tank top Flash Gordon from the movie, and then the Timothy Dalton Prince Baron from the movie, and it'll keep going on from there. That perfect mix of both.
Just come with that mound where they got to stick their hand in, you know, test their manhood. You know, it was such a weird time in the movie, but it's so great. I love watching. It was funny because we were watching a TV commercial. This is a personal like a side story here, but when we lived in California, when I say there was like this TV commercial that was using that dun, 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 right from the music from the Queen, and it was totally had nothing to do with Flash Gordon at all, but it was like I forget, it was like a technology or Verizon commercial or something like that. And it was a series of commercials, and my son loved it. He's like, Mom, this music's so great. Listen to it. And I'm like, well, you know where that's from, right? And it's from Flash Gordon, the movie. He's like, I don't know what Flash Gordon is. I was like, stop the presses. That's it. You're not doing anything else. I was like, both of you had to bring in, as a geek mom, like I have to, stop my failure and, bring in these kids into the fandom of Flash Gordon. I don't think they're like 100% fans, but they at least are educated now. And so we definitely, had a Flash Gordon film fest. And that by the end, they're cracking up. Like halfway through, they're just dying laughter of, all the Flash dialogue. And then they're like, this is the moment where they should be playing the music. This is the heroic time. And then there's no music. It's so funny how even afterwards, for a long time, it was like my ringtone on his phone. It was pretty hysterical how they got introduced to it. And it's all through because that little piece of music has made its way so far into culture that it's now disassociated from the film, and you don't even know where it comes from anymore. But so, that's my little aside, but I think it's really funny how that's what sticks out with people sometimes, but when they finally get into the film, they're like, oh, it's kind of campy and crazy, but it's really fun.
There's something just so perfect about that movie.
The fact that they were so ambitious to make it look so much like the comic and have like every single character, every single little like offshoot group around Mongo, they really that's the
so much love went into it.
so much went into it. It's so impressive to watch on that.
It really is.
And sort of the cultural relevance of this movie has been really interesting to watch, because not only do we have this 40th anniversary celebration happening right now, but Sam Jones has come back to sort of reprise his role in the Ted movies, and then there's a commercial.
Yeah, that Walmart commercial. Oh man, it was the best.
So and yeah, there's sort of nothing quite like this movie, and how intensely people love it
or intensely hate it.
Yeah.
It's one way or the other. You either really love it and you're embracing all of it, whether you think it's crazy or campy or whatever the words everybody wants to use to describe the movie. You either really embrace all of it, or you're like, never, it's liver and onions, I don't want it near me. I don't want to smell it. But I don't know, I'm in the fun camp, of course, because every time it just makes me laugh. It makes me, and I think that's the whole point, right? To anything that we love or that we're involved in, or any of our projects or anything like that. I think if it makes you smile, if it makes people smile, if that's why we get up and go to work every day and do what we do. If someone's enjoying it, then it's like, wow, okay, all the blood, sweat, and tears really came out for something, right? It was really worth it. I think those are the most fulfilling moments on doing what we do.
Absolutely.
So what else is new? We have about 5 minutes left. What else is left for Boss Fight Studio? What's in the future?
Really quick. So as we touched on, the Hero Hacks line is going to incorporate a bunch of great licenses. We've got the Phantom.
The Phantom. We also have Tarzan and Zorro.
I can't wait for those.
Expand it to a couple more names here and there as time goes on. We want it to kind of be our catch-all for that type of character.
And so in terms of the future of Boss Fight, we want to keep creating and stretching ourselves and innovating. And we have the I Am Brilliance fashion.
I can't wait for that to come out.
Which is amazing.
It's looking fantastic. The first shots from China look amazing.
And
so good.
There's luchadoras.
Yes.
Yep.
In that.
Yep.
We will be doing Lady Matavia and Taya Valkyrie in the I Am Brilliance fashion doll line, and they're so excited about that.
And
So the fashion doll line is amazing to me. Just as a quick aside for people who haven't heard of it or watching, this is the first foray into fashion dolls for Boss Fight Studio. Many of them are not licensed. There are two, of course, the luchadoras that we were just talking about. But it's basically a career line, right? It's essentially a representation of dolls that have very different careers for young people to follow along or get interested in. And tell us about some of the careers that are being represented besides the luchadoras.
Well, they're very STEM focused to start off. So we have, let's see, we have an ornithologist and
an exotic animal vet,
an Arctic explorer.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
They're really cool, really diverse. Really different from what you might see out there in that marketplace.
Yeah. So when they come out, everybody give it some love, because it's definitely a labor of love.
Yes, they're adorable.
It's still very cute and fashionable.
Yeah, and all the normal play patterns that we talk about, right? For those who like to have fashion dolls, with the hair play and the costumes and the changing of the clothing and stuff. Yes, there is a science behind developing dolls, everyone who hasn't been able to develop a doll yet. There's some philosophy and psychology that goes with it. But no, that's great. I'm excited about I Am Brilliance as well. And you guys have an announcement on Monday, right? That I won't steal from you, but you have a live stream for the Little Prince that people should register for.
Yes. So we have just shown the first of our the Little Prince product based on the classic children's book, and we have a sort of a very exciting launch event happening on Monday with a live stream with one of the descendants of the original author. Yeah. And not only that, we're gonna talk about this iconic children's book. We're gonna talk about the super cool product that Katrina has been. Oh, she's crushing it. Yeah. And
shout out to Katrina.
and the first pre-order.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what time is that?
That is 11.
It is 11
Eastern on Monday, the 29th.
And they can register on your Facebook page. Yeah. There's a link there. Live stream. So get your slot. It's probably a limited Zoom, as everyone else is doing nowadays. So make sure you get in on that. And then you have some stuff going on all of August, right? That's a whole month's worth of information.
August is Hero Hacks month.
So we don't want to reveal the details yet, but August is gonna have a big focus on the hero hacks. We're gonna start putting up the subsequent pre-orders. Yep. And all the people that are clamoring, where is my Phantom figure? Where is my Zorro? Where is my Tarzan? They're coming.
They're coming. So watch for the news. Watch out for all the social media. You guys are very active, as you said, very accessible. So tell us where to find you. Where are all your platforms?
Sure. We're just Boss Fight Studio on Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram.
And bossfightshop.com is our shop.
Yes, please, so that we can keep the lights on. Bossfightshop.com.
And we're also carried at lots of great retailers online.
Big Bad Toy Store, right? Entertainment Earth.
Big Bad Toy Store, Megalopolis. Lots of amazing retail partners that carry our stuff. So
So, and if you can't find them anywhere, send them a message. They will respond. Yeah. And they will respond. So thank you guys. Thank you again for coming on and spending some time with us and, sharing some knowledge, sharing some fun stories. Hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon in the future. Those of you who are tuning in, thank you again for spending your time with us every Friday. Thank you for supporting Fangirl Friday Live. Drop a share, drop a like, information, comments, all of that. And we hope to see you in 2 weeks, because next week in the US is a holiday weekend. So we're going to be off resting on Friday the 3rd, but then we'll be back on Friday the 10th. And we're actually going to have Loungefly with us on Friday the 10th, so I can't wait. They have some great news to share, so tune in. We'll do our post again, but thanks again and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thanks.